We official now.
We are official. Hi.
How's it going, sir? Nice
How
to
you
meet
doing?
you, man. Good.
Good to meet you too. What's your name?
My name is Joshua Kissi.
Where are you from?
I am from where I'm from. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from. Well, I'm from New York. I'm originally from Ghana, West Africa, and now I live in LA.
How long you been living in LA?
Close to 2 years.
Do you like it?
I like it a lot. Yeah.
What do you like about it?
What do I like about Los Angeles? The ability to expand. I think family life, of course, being a father, having ability to have access to nature. If you're working in the film industry, having the ability to crew up. The fact that this is an industry city for film and music feels like very much like what I was looking for. So Los Angeles represents a lot, but it represents, for me, parenthood, creative liberty, and just different chapter of my life than I think what New York was. So
I was gonna ask you about New York. What was it like for you? Growing up in New York with a mind like yours.
Oh my
where
God.
you were as far as in the Bronx.
In the Bronx. I mean, I love New York.
Yeah.
I love the Bronx. Shout out to the Bronx. Birth of hip hop culture, birth of what we know. I mean, it was, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. I think, sorry, Rose, you have to cut around this. But I think what I loved about the Bronx and just New York in general is the access to different types of people. So just, you know, you had West Indians here, you had Africans here, you had Latinos there. Like everybody just kind of living in the same community. So I think also living in the Bronx was like the largest population, excuse me, of people of Ghanaian descent outside of Ghana. So like, I feel like I grew up in Ghana, even though I was in the Bronx, and the west side of the Bronx is just so many of us. So I think that gave me a lot of affirmation as to who I am and where I come from and the history of that, but still being a city that's ever changing. So it just felt like you just had access to everything. If you got on the subway, in an hour, you could be in a whole different place. And I feel like the connectivity in New York, that's what New York's about. So I felt like that was a big influence on how big I saw the world to be, even though I was in a contained borough. It felt like I could dream further than what I saw. So I was like, all right, this is it.
I was going to ask you, so do you think it's important, or do you think you had an advantage knowing where you were from? Like knowing where your roots were? Like growing up, like first generation?
Like first gen life? I mean, yeah, I think so.
In what way?
Because I just had a direct lineage and connection to a culture and the people that were expansive, and there was a lot of tradition around it and a lot of celebration around it. So like every weekend we went to another type of event, cultural event, even though if I didn't want to be there, you know, just being a kid and just being not understanding what's happening. You know what I mean? I'm like, I just want to go home, play video games. But I think my parents being from Ghana, and then Ghana in itself just kind of being this like Pan-African, kind of very open and connected place to just Black people from all around the world. It just always made me think bigger, but definitely language, culture, just like, I mean, it's a culture of a lot of servitude, humility, and like that has its own thing. That's, I think, is embedded in me, but at the same time, there's a layer of myself that's very American, and there's a layer of myself that's also very African, and I fight those things.
Gotcha.
I'll balance between
like the
them.
contrast and balance.
Yeah, the contrast.
Yeah,
those
I feel
two.
like, I mean, Jamaican first generation, so same.
Yeah.
Kind of like battle, like, is this?
But you're like born and raised in Jamaica, which is
I lived,
until you're
I lived
7,
there, yeah.
until 5, 8. Yeah, that's
So
like substantial.
Yeah, my childhood. So I got a lot of memories there for sure. But I mean, you know, I feel like when you get into like your teens, you know, and you start like identifying who you are as an individual, I think that's around the time it really starts, you know, like at least for me, that's when it started. It's like, all right, well, yeah, y'all gonna wear, you know, Jabot jeans, and I'm gonna put a crease in my slacks. You feel me? I'm gonna put the starch on that thing. I'm gonna wake up every day 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna.
That was the standard.
Yeah, you know, like, so I feel like my attention to detail comes from being Jamaican, like, you know, like comes from like going to prep school and
yeah.
erasing the paper properly
Yeah.
before you finish, going moving to the next thing. Like
Just the
it's like,
uniforms, the whole
yeah,
vibe, the
like,
structure.
the obedience
for
aspect
sure.
of things. You know what I mean? So I was gonna ask you. So like, when did you get into that? Like, you know, what was high school like for you as far as when you started shifting and veering off and stopped wearing
veering
Jordans?
off.
And, you know what I mean? Like when it was like
Yeah.
me?
I feel like I had two things that kind of changed my life. One was New York City, and the other was the internet. And I feel like if you have the internet in New York, that's like a double. You know what I mean? It's like you get to see the world globally, but you also get to see the world, the manifestation of that in person.
Facts.
And like, there's just not a lot of places in the world where you could explore on the internet or discover or find this thing that you really like, this type of style or this clothing or this era, and see some form of that being lived in a city, or see somebody try that type of style or whatever in the city. So it's just like a direct correlation between like, oh, you saw these cool things online, but now you actually get to see people living that in Soho or downtown or what have you. So I was always taking the train. Like I took the D train, took the 2 train, the 5 train, just downtown.
Nice.
It took like an hour to get there, but I was like, I want to be down there.
Yeah.
Plus I didn't want to be surrounded by the same things I was seeing in my neighborhood, which I was just like, all right, I'm gonna bounce out, see what it's about. And I started making lifelong friends. But in high school, I think it started with skate culture first. It was like, oh, like this is different, streetwear, skate culture. And then from there, it just started to bridge into other interests. But I think you kind of wanted to feel different in that era because everybody was, you know, white tee, blue jeans, Air Force Ones.
Tall
like,
tees with the,
I was like,
with the
I don't
Dewey
know.
on in the new era
I
joint.
still had the Dewey. My waves was spinning. My waves was crazy. But like my waves was, I was the dude with the waves. Like, you know that dark skin dude with the waves, like, because it was connecting on all front.
Yeah. Attention to detail.
Attention to detail. No, but I think I just started to make a real departure from that. And it's funny because when I was in high school, I was dating a girl. This just brought me all the way back. And literally, our whole like disconnect was the fact that I was dressing different. She was like, I don't like how you dressing, da da da. I don't think I ever told you.
No, you
this.
never told me that.
Yeah, like in 10th grade, she was like, yeah, I don't like how you dressing. Like it looks too this and that. Like she was already like, I don't know. Like it's basically uncomfortable with the fact that I was expanding outside of her idea of what she thought a black dude from New York or like from our neighborhood should be. So I remember being like, well, I'm gonna just lean into this. Like there's no way I'm gonna question this. So like, you know, deuces.
I'm gonna let you later.
Yeah, I was like, deuces. But she just thought, and it's funny because I'm like, so tight pants is this and that. Like it was just a whole like, trying to dictate the masculinity of who I am based on how I was dressing at the time.
I was gonna get into that.
No. So yeah, that was like, I mean, everybody's kind of inspired by their form of, I guess, trauma or experience, but that was the first thing where I got like a firm like, oh, like we're rocking and now we're not. All right, cool. Like this lets me know.
You could have changed. You could have just went back to stay with her. You could have said it.
I could have. I mean, you know, she was a nice thing, but it wasn't worth it in that way.
Right.
In my high school mind, it was like, nah.
Right.
So I just started surrounding myself with the people that I thought affirmed, you know, who I wanted to be and who I was at the moment. And in high school, that's when it kind of all started, you know. So
yeah, you know, I connect with that.
That's that.
Definitely. I mean, I'm probably a little late bloomer than you. College for me. Yeah. Like sophomore year, I think it was. I was like, man, I gotta stop looking like a drug dealer.
Like a drug dealer. That's facts.
You know what I mean? Like, I gotta chill.
There's a certain image. And
then, it's like, especially if my mind isn't really, that's not where my mind is at. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if my brain is matching up to the lifestyle that I'm exuding, then cool. But if they're not connecting, then like I'm not being my true self. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to be my true self. So
that's a fact.
So at one point it was authentic. You know what I mean? Like, and at another point I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to like progress.
Go beyond this. Yeah. So
you know, so
what you wear is how you feel.
That's a fact.
Yeah, that's real.
You know, and I think around that time, like even like soon after college when we met, you was in high school still? Nah, you had graduated.
Yeah, we graduated by then. In high school, that's where Street Etiquette really started.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I was gonna ask.
So it was like me and Trav. We found each other. We had 2 more homies, Damien and Jose. We were just like 4 dudes that was just taking on to the high school in a different way. So everybody knew like, yo, why are these dudes dressing like this? Like they were tight, but you know, we were definitely feeling ourselves like, yo, we don't care. We're listening to Lupe Fiasco and Ye and da da da. Like that was kind of that early era. But yeah, that's where street etiquette really started. It was like high school in that hallway. Even though the idea wasn't present, like I feel like that was the beginning of like, oh, we could do something. So yeah.
I was thinking like, when you find like, you know, a village, quote unquote, or like-minded people, like how much more confidence that instills in you.
Definitely does.
You know, it makes you feel as if like, one, you're not alone, but also know that the places that you want to go are they're real.
Yeah, that's real.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, if I could go with y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of times it's like, I want to go to this party. It's like, I ain't trying to go to this party by myself. I don't know nobody over there. Like, it's far. But if 5 of your homies say, yo, we about to roll to this party.
You be like, yo, we
out.
Yeah, we out. It's a different energy, though. That's true.
That's true. It don't matter where we going. We go 3 hours away. Now I'm good. Like, you know, so just to have that kind of like
community.
You know, I think that's really important. And really early on, I was really, you know, fortunate to meet you. You know what I'm saying? And we built that. You know, so and that helped me. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways.
I think we're all searching for a community.
Facts.
Like when I was in high school, meeting Trav, meeting his name Damien and Jose, and then from there, once we graduated, me and Trav took that to the next level by building street etiquette, and then from there, connecting with Ouija, Brooklyn Circus, and then the Black Ivy stuff, and that's how you like. It was always by searching for community, especially like when we saw in our neighborhoods, like, all right, this is not necessarily what we want to kind of endure and be a part of in that way. Like, how do we find something different? So I feel like everybody would kind of form in their own clusters and like finding each other in their own ways. And like, it just felt really good to be affirmed in that way, because like we're all mirror reflections of each other. So it's like whatever you reflect, I reflect, and you just feel that reflection upon each other. So it was just like really good to have. I remember back in that era, I'm just like, wow, feels good to be understood and be seen, even though you're doing something different from what people expect.
Right.
And I know people now, they wouldn't really get it because we're in 2023.
Facts.
Everything is so alternative and counterculture to begin with. So it's hard to kind of put yourself back there, but I just want people to imagine, like, you know, where we're at in that time and place, and taking any risk outside of what people expected a young black male to look like in America, period, and taking challenges against that and taking risk against that and building careers and lifestyles and lives off of that.
Whole visions.
Like that's risky to people.
Especially when you have no example. You know, I think that's like the main part where I appreciated, you know, what we were doing when we were doing it, because we had no like mentors. We had no representation of like what it is we were trying to do. So it's like we had each other.
Yeah, we had each other. I used to get upset, like, you know, just thinking about the Hollywood names. Like, why isn't this person over here? Like, what have they left outside of the fact that they were from New York and did something profitable for the culture? But I'm just like, what through lines or what blueprint have they left for us to follow in that fashion? So I think that's why, even with street etiquette, the referencing to the past was a very important part of it, of finding these images and being like, yo, in the 1960s, at Howard, they were doing this. In the 1960s, Mal Davis was like that, like just giving us those references. So that imagery was important for us to be like, oh, somebody's done it before, so we can.
Facts.
But if you don't have any of those references and you're trying to build a blueprint from scratch, it's like, yo, this is crazy.
I was about to say mania.
Yeah.
No, I think like when you're talking about referencing, you know, like you a referencer. I'm a referencer. Like we dig. You know, as far as we could go. You know, Tumblr kids.
Yeah, Tumblr.
Gang.
Shout out to Tumblr.
But when it comes to like how you went about referencing, or what was your process? Like, how did you think to know to be like, all right, well, you know, I need to do some research on this shawl sweater I'm wearing, and why is it important for me to do this research on this shawl sweater? It's just a sweater, you know, like.
That's real.
Yeah.
I think me and Trav really cared about history.
Okay.
Like you'll get a, you know, C in math and all that, but history is like you have to go up, because I think we understood like we're living a present history, and we'll be able to inform that if we understand the past. So it's like I was really into like everything history. Even when I was in middle school, I loved social studies. I used to go off just to read what was happening back then, and how it impacted today. Because I was always confused, like, how do we get where we at today, and what does that look like, and like where do we go further? So I think the historical element was always important, and the fact that like we just come from a people who are oral history people.
Facts.
So when I think about my dad or his dad or what he said his dad told him, it was always these oral parables and stories of like this man, like this is the lesson of this man that lost his family. He went here and he did this. He worked so hard and then he came back to the village and now his family is gone because he spent like there was always some lesson of like just make sure while you're working, you like there's always some through line of like trying to get the next generation further by using these past stories, and I just really like that. Like hearing those stories, I was just like, oh, bet I could do that in some sort of way. It just so happens to breathe through fashion at that time, but having that interest to like retell and sit in a room with people and just talk the same way we used to do at the
all
office.
the time at the office. That
Just like
we
sit
be there and
down,
just
talk.
throw photo. Yo, you seen this? You seen this fit? Yo, what's that? You see them socks? What are you on, polyester? Like, yeah, I remember that. We used
Like
to,
live and breathe it. You know what I mean? Live and breathe it in all ways. So yeah, I feel like we're both, and all of us in this crew are referencers. You know what I mean? And we just take a little bit of that spin and just make it today or make it our own and put our own personality into it. But I'm like, that's where we come from.
Yeah,
it's a remixing culture.
Exactly. I was gonna say that. You know, like they say there's nothing original under the sun. You know? I think, even one step further for me, like from our experiences and just being like storytellers, like you said, and keen to attention to detail and taking risks. I think the combination of those three things, it kind of speak to, people's personal viewpoint on something. And then it's like, that's how you send out the antennas of like, hey, look, y'all could come over here with us, and I think that's another thing I feel is really important when we talk about is inspiring, and at first, you don't think of it like that. When you're making something, it's just something in your head. You just got to get out.
Yeah.
And you're not really. For me personally, when I first started, I didn't care about like I wasn't like, oh man, I need to go platinum. No, it wasn't that. It was like I make this, and I want more people who I can talk to about this thing that I make that can help me make more things like this better.
I'm curious, like, because I feel like you, and just people that were able to have an identifiable talent, like that people could hear from very young, like how different is that? Like how different was your experience knowing that, like, I have this talent from a young kid? You know what I mean? And like a lot of people figure that out in their 20s. But yeah,
it's pressure. And it's like it depends on how the pressure supported. I think that's because pressure's not bad. It's just like, so it's like if you're growing up, you get identified with something like, oh, I used to walk around, oh, you're the kid who sing and play sports. It's just them two things. It's like, I do so much more. You know what I mean? So I think, being able to understand that, I'm blessed with something that touches people and people respond to it emotionally is like the main important thing, outside of me and making me feel good. You know what I mean? And so it's like, all right, I have this power that could bring peace, bring light.
What was the first time you discovered that moment where it's like, oh damn, like
I was like 6. I was in Jamaica. It was Christmas time. I was at church with my cousins. All my older cousins sang, and I really wanted to sing with them, and I would follow them everywhere and try to sing with them. And they was like, yo, we need somebody to sing a solo for Silent Night.
Wow.
And I was like, all right.
Wow.
And that was the first time. So like ever since that time, like everybody looked at me like, and once you get that, everybody look at you like you're good at something, you're like, wait, what?
Like he's about to, about to be out of here.
I might get some extra plantain at dinner. You feel me? Like I might get an extra piece of chicken if I, you know what I mean? So it's like once I realized that, it's like, all right, I'm gonna fall into it. But then, in my later years, it's like what you're saying. It's like attention to detail. So it's like research. So it's like, of course, I'm listening to Marvin Gaye. I'm trying to find anything I can find. Peter Tosh, like anything that the people around me exposed me to. I remember being in the car driving to football practice, listening to 80s rock, like. Because my stepfather loved 80s rock. And like, I'm listening to the Eagles and I'm 13 and I'm like, I don't know who these people are, but they're very good, So I think it's just like, not only the history aspect of it, but understanding like the quality of something.
Yeah.
Because history is bound. Like, it's like boundless. I mean, you should just
vast.
Keep going. You know? So I think it's like being able to acknowledge like taste. I think like that's like really important. So that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. Like you can be talented and have bad taste and not progress. Come on, it's a fact.
True. That's true.
It's a fact. And I think taste just comes from like trying things. If you're not willing to experiment to understand what it is you're capable of, like as far as like what you see and what you can make, then your taste doesn't evolve. It's like so. It's like I just remember us just trying stuff like when you did Slumflower. You know what you was like? We was like, you called me, like, oh, I'm gonna do a short film. I'm like, a short film? What you talking about? I don't know what that is. He's like, oh yeah, we shooting right now. I'm like, he was like, pull up. I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
we on set, and you doing a movie. And I remember when you first sent me the first script, like,
Wow.
and the breakdown and the pitch deck, and I didn't know anything about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just knew like how to hustle.
Yeah, no, it's real.
You know what I mean? Like, I knew like I'm like, okay, this and this. If I do this, this and this. If I call these 3 people and do this, like, but you always been very strategic.
Very strategic. Very strategic.
Very strategic. And
even with Slumflower, like we did that, and some part of me was like, oh, I can't really say I directed this. Like, Street Etiquette was its own entity, and
true.
we had a lot of partners in there, Tremaine, and a lot of talented folks. Fisco donated money to make sure it happened as well. But it's like, yeah, to go into the projects and shoot this film with my nephew, and it was very familial, and create this image that people just saw and was like, what is that? It was kind of a testing ground of kind of a creative playground to be like, oh, you could just test these ideas and figure out, like you're saying, your taste. You know, so it's like we have the appetite for it, but until you start eating different things and understand, like, well, I actually like seafood over this.
Or are you allergic?
Yeah, I'm allergic. I'm allergic. I'm just saying, in general, like finding your taste palette is also important with what comes with the experience of trying different things. But I'm like, damn, if you only have bread for so long, like that's probably not the diet or the type of thing you want to express.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Or sugar too much, or not have enough greens. It's just like the right balance of trying different things at different times. But anything I was scared of, I just try to go towards. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, this is making me nervous. This is making me uncomfortable.
I'm running at it.
Yeah, like I got to go that way because I got to figure out what's on the other side.
Well, I feel like this. Yeah, no, I mean, you already know me, bro.
Yeah, they'll say it. I was like, okay, this sounds scary. Like, okay, 12-minute film. We've never done like any type like, but we gonna figure it out, you know. And it was a learning process. So no, you're right. That was a good time to create without pressure too.
Facts.
I think that's.
Well, no, outside pressure.
Outside pressure, create.
You go in your heart.
I gotta do the best. I gotta do it, but like outside pressure impeded on your process. Because I feel like at this stage of life and career, like that's a part of the growth is the fact that, you know, you might be a little plant, but you have the pressure to turn into this tree. People are expecting this tree. It's like, oh, like when is it gonna blossom? When is it gonna have this big willowing effect that people could find shade under here or find like be a resource to others? And it's like. That's an immense amount of pressure. Like to just be a seed and go from that to like a smaller plant and just like find your way is one thing, but to provide shade for others or, you know, continue to grow is like, oh, okay. Like there needs to be a whole ecosystem around what I love to do or the value of what I love to do.
Yes.
Which is just, tough.
It's definitely tough. I think, you know, I like that metaphor because it's real, you know, like we are a reflection of plants. So for the most part, you know what I mean? So I get what you're saying, and I connect with it because it's like the generation we're in right now, like the times. It's like everything has to be like.
No, yeah.
You know, and it's like as a creator, and knowing and actually knowing what the process is, like in a real way, from inception all the way to completion.
Yeah.
And be a part of every actual stage of it, and then having to present it to people who are fast to like give their opinion on something without asking. Any questions. I think that's a hard thing to protect yourself from. And that's why it's important to have community, you know, because we can protect each other.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for us as creators and storytellers and people who actually care about attention to detail because we want the life of something to last longer than just being like, look, it's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really like the word cool right now. I'm not like a fan of that word necessarily, you know. But I do like the word like quality, you know. I do like thoughtfulness, you know. I do like the word like risk taking, groundbreaking, you know. And that's all subjective. Yeah. But you know, it still gives direction, you know, as far as like your lifestyle is concerned. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about is like lifestyle. You know, I wanted to be like I wanted to ask you. So I know we go through a lot of transitions based on the things we desire, you know, and shifts. And we're like, oh, like, I want this type of car. This type of car costs this amount of money. This is where I'm at right now. It's going to take me this long to get over here. Now you got to map out how to get to the lifestyle that will get you the car. Even if by the time you get there, you don't even want the car no more.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. It ain't about the material thing. It's about having things that are tangible that can help contain your vast imagination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Direction. So it's like, when did you realize that was important?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I realized that when I was like 17, 18, like very early. Yeah, I mean, so of course my dad's a pastor, my mom's a nurse. So like I just grew up in a house of empathy, but as well as growing up in a faith-driven household, like you got to believe what you don't see.
Facts.
And like that part was like always like, I may not have it now, but I know how to reverse engineer to like believe that I have it, or have the right affirmations mentally to know that like I could get there along the way. And I think I realized that early. Even though I was young, like I was not really trying to be in church. Like I'm like, whatever, I'm just trying to get out of here. I got to be there 4 days a week. This is killing me. Like, but I learned a lot by watching and observing people, you know, off the needs and wants that they felt like they wanted from God or from a higher power. I realized that everything is a matter of manifestation. I'm like, if you meditate on this spiritually, physically, creatively, it can happen. And now you'll find the right people that you need to connect with or the right steps in order to get there. So every time I saw something, I was like, oh, well, I may not have it now, but like, I'm going to work on how to make that a reality. And I feel like, yeah, that was the first thing that I saw that in that time and era and space that I was like, okay, this can happen. Like if you have an idea, I think that's the craziest thing. Like you can have something in your head and then make it physical and tangible.
Real.
Yeah, and then people celebrate that part of it. Like that's the craziest thing to me. I'm like, I don't think I ever get over that cycle or just over that aspect of the fact that like you could create something and people come in and they celebrate that thing. But I definitely think coming from the type of background of you got to see it to believe it, you got to speak to it, all of that. I think like that helped me to imagine that like, oh, you could use your imagination for like creativity. Like, what does that look like? So, but also like the type of life you want to live, that was also important. I'm like, okay, like it's not just, like you're saying, it's not just tangible things, but what you're eating, how you're treating people, what your spiritual health is like, how you're treating yourself, like your self-talk, like all of that kind of plays into it in a way that I thought maybe sometimes I took for granted, where I was like, damn, whatever I thought just happens. I don't even know. Like, there's not this. Thank you, God, but there's not one time I thought something that couldn't happen.
Yeah, it's like that one time we were sitting in the office and he was like, man, we gotta go overseas, and I was like, yeah, we gotta go somewhere. I was like, where you trying to go? He was like, man, I don't know, Berlin.
We went to Berlin.
We went to Berlin.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I don't even know how. Like, I mean, yeah, music, but
yeah, of course.
And then I was like, you trying to roll? Because we already talked about it and we went.
I was like 19.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that was my first experience in Europe outside of London. Like I've been there, but like to Berlin and seeing another side of the culture. Yeah, it was all of the manifestation. I think that part that people really sleep on is that process of like, how do you could have a million thoughts a day, but how are you acting on it to make it a reality? It's a whole other thing.
Activities.
Yeah.
No, yo. That's why I love like living the lifestyle I live, you know what I mean? Like being able to say like, I'm gonna take the time to do this thing that I know is beneficial.
Yeah.
You know, for a journey that I decided upon myself that I can't necessarily explain in depth to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll understand why I'm the way that I am. So I don't want to waste time doing that, you know. I'd rather make things, you know, and I think that's evident, you know, is the more you give, and as far as give yourself.
Not even to cut you off, bro. I just thought about it right now. This is wild. But this thought of manifestation, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I knew who you were is because I saw your stuff on BET Jazz, like at home.
Oh, that's funny.
Like that's it. Like at the crib, it was me and Toheeb. Like we were chilling, and I was like, "Yo, this dude look mad cool. Like this song is fire. Like it was the Tabloids video." And I'm like, "This is dope. He's on the subway." Da 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 da. Literally, like weeks later, I meet you at the Brooklyn Circus, like, which is crazy. But that's the only reason I was like, "Yo, this looks fire." Like, and then met you right after. Like to me, that's the manifestation of like, yo, I want to be around people like that. What you were depicting in the video felt like it was cool, it was creative. I'm like, damn, like he's just living downtown. Like this is the vibe.
Yeah, we just made that video in like 2 days. And
I'm sure.
I didn't even know that was our first video. We didn't even know what we were doing. Me and Woo, I was like, Woo, let's make a video. And he was like, I don't know how to edit. And I was like, well, I don't know how to come up with ideas to make a video, but let's just try it. The same with you was Sunflower.
Yeah.
And we just made it. And then I was like,
crazy.
I'm like, what's next? And then he's like, I think we could put it on this thing called YouTube. I was like, lit. And I was like, what's next?
Wow.
Let's try and see if we could get it on TV. And
Yeah.
That's how.
That's how I saw it.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's going back to what we were saying as far as risk taking is concerned. You know, like one risk leads to another one, leads to another one, leads to another one, and then you start realizing like, oh, those wasn't even risks, those were just steps.
Yeah. Wow.
You're like, wait, I thought I was jumping off the, you know what I'm saying? But now, like, I jumped to the beach. I'm wilding. Like,
I just need to walk up.
Yeah, I just need to walk out a little bit. I was tripping, you know. I think like even me and you, like how genuine we were when I met you. I remember that day. You know what I mean? We was walking up and down taking photos and stuff. And like even after we met, the next couple times after we met, like I was like, man, this something about bro. Like, bro got it. I think I asked you to style me.
Yeah, you
That's
did.
what
You
it
did.
was.
You
I was
did
like, I gotta figure out how to hang out with this dude for the 106 in Park.
No, really, not Sahar. Wow, I forgot her name.
For that too, but even before that.
You did it though for 106
in
Park.
Park.
You're right though, damn,
I was
right.
like, I gotta figure out how to hang out with this dude.
That's crazy. I forgot about that.
Like, if I look cool, he'll still want to be around me.
Yeah, right.
I was like,
I'm
man.
thinking he's the coolest dude.
No.
You know what I mean? Seeing him on television, you know how big that was back in the day. I'm like, this man's on TV.
Nah.
Like, I gotta meet this dude somehow. He's super cool. And then ended up meeting. But you're right. You did ask me to style
I asked you to style me. I was like, oh, can you style me? I just wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, I don't even know if I even understood what stylish really is.
right, you was like, sure, I'll do it. I was like, yeah, see what's like, I knew you ain't doing what you was doing
I'm
either.
like, all
but
right,
we did
let's figure it out.
Yeah, we did all right. I know you didn't know what you was doing either, but we did all right. We figured it out together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fire.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Remember the first music video? When we did the first
I remember
video?
that. I remember.
And I asked you to do it, and you looked at me crazy. He was like, what you mean? I just take pictures, bro. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm about to shoot this video.
Yeah.
And we ran around the city.
Bro.
Hot. In the cold.
That's real.
Like, it was a lot.
Had you taken off your shirt on train yards.
Did you lose the footage and we had to shoot some stuff over or something like that?
No.
That wasn't true. He like never.
No.
I would never do that.
No. I gave it to Sam and then something happened with the drive, but like then we were good. Yeah,
all right, cool. You remember that? Yeah. So but I think I mean, this episode really it's about friendship, man.
Yeah.
You know, like really, like, cause it's really hard to like understand that. Friendship is family. You know, when it comes down to it, it's like everyone who you meet in this walk of life that choose to continue to learn you and choose to continue to learn themselves through you and with you, that's sacred.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it's so on the surface, but we've had a lot of uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, we have to, yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
And it's important to be able to know that that's possible, So I'm appreciative that you
likewise.
continue to show me that it's possible because you know me.
I know Jesse very well.
Yeah, you know me.
I was telling Mac this the other day.
Yeah.
When we were driving back from Long Beach, and I was like, there's certain people you're just friends with in all seasons of your life, and for me, I take note to that. I'm like, there's a certain reason why we've been able to have a certain frequency that's important, and it's the learning of each other. Like, there's some things that I could do that could be more like you, and there's some things that I do that you could be more like me.
Facts.
And that's our whole shit. Like,
Facts.
I see what you mean. Like, and at the end result, it's the same idea, but how we go about it is different. And it's like, I need to learn more from what you're communicating, and likewise on the other side. And I feel like that just always has us in a learning state. Like, for the basis of our friendship and appreciation for each other, is like, I'm listening to him because I could apply that to my own life and how I look at things. And we could think the same thing at the end, but how we get there is different. So, like, thinking through, like, what do those two things look like? And I feel like that's the basis of a lot of people you meet. It's like, yo, there's one thing, at least one thing that I don't know.
Facts.
And there's one thing I know that you don't know. Our friendship should be about figuring that out.
Facts.
Oh, shit, sorry. I could say it again, but pretty much, like, our friendship is about figuring out that in between of, like, the one thing that this person knows and the one thing that I know, and that exchange. So I'm like, every person I meet on the earth, that's the case. Like, you don't know something I don't know. I know something you don't know. Like, let's figure out what that is. And once you figure that out and figure out the frequency between the two, like, that's friendship. Like, that's love. And I always feel like friends were like family you could actually choose. Can't choose a fam.
Facts.
You don't, some uncles you don't really bet, whatever it is, but it's like, the friends though? I'm like, I just really, really put a lot of respect and appreciation to my friendships, because I know, like, I'm making an active choice to be in this relationship, and they're also doing the same, so I don't take it for granted, So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I connect with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, me, I really think it's about, like, what challenges you're willing to receive from who you're talking to, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like if you call me like, hey, you know, maybe you should go back like this. You know, like that time you called me, he's like, where are the R&B songs on the album?
Oh, God.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Well, first you sent it to the group text. Remember? You sent it to the group text.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then you
it was a group discussion, and then we got on the phone.
Then you called me, and because you know I felt
Of course.
the type of way about it, and I'm appreciated that you called me. You know what I mean? Like, because most people, that wouldn't be their next step.
Yeah,
you know? They'll just let you sit with that. Whatever.
Yeah, I can't be avoiding it. I'm like,
nah.
If I made my friend feel uncomfortable, I gotta speak to him.
Facts.
Yeah.
So you called me, and then I think we sat on the phone. And I just started playing you all the R&B songs I ever made. I think it was like an hour and a half on the phone.
Yeah, I was like, damn, okay, that's it. That's it. Yo, no more. He's like,
I was like, nah.
And I got another one.
Nah, hold on.
And I could send you a folder with 60 more. Like, yeah, nah.
But after we had that conversation, like, I went and made some more quote unquote R&B songs. You know, for real.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a challenge you put in front of me, you know, and I could have just been like, nah, watch out. Like, I'm an alt boy. I'm doing alt songs now. I'm good. I'm emo. Watch out. You know what I mean? But you understand an aspect of me that you wanted to bring to my attention because I had maybe forgotten it in that moment. You know, and it's like that's what we supposed to do.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's facts.
You know, right. Like we're just supposed to remind each other stuff. You know, and I think like it's hard to like realize like while you reminding somebody something, you also like putting the spotlight on yourself because you like practicing something with someone that you could practice with yourself that's healthy. It's like, oh, I need to remind myself that I need to do this. I need to remind myself that I need to do this. You know, and I think like,
I mean, it's the same thing when I came here. I was like, yo, I'm about to maybe be DP work or do director work or do this or go back to school and do
for
something else.
Photography, that's what you were saying.
Or for photography, my bad.
Oh, yeah.
For photo.
And
and you're like, nah, bro. You're like,
nah.
You're like, you should just be doing directing. I'm like, that's true. Like, I'm scared of that title, but I understand it because I respect the craft so much. Like, I respect the craft so much. So I'm like, okay, yeah.
I know you for so long, so I seen you.
Yeah, you used to be.
I seen you direct.
Yeah.
And you didn't remember that you had direct. Like, you know, in your head, you're like, oh, I've never done this. And what I said, yo, you direct people with your photos.
Yeah,
like you know, like you got people doing things and invoking certain emotions in photographs that people couldn't put in their whole movies.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you, I was like, bro, so you been a director already.
Yeah, I remember that. That's real.
So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're a director. I'm not listening.
That's
like,
real.
You know what I mean?
That was a turning point in my life.
Yeah,
so I'm appreciative of that.
I appreciate you appreciating it. No, that was important for me too, you know, because like the fact that you just like you fell into it. I remember I called you and I was like, yo, where you at? I texted you. He was like, oh, I'm in Ghana. And I was like, oh, nah, hey, I'm like Kwesi about to hit you by directors. So I said, say yes.
Yeah.
In the text. You didn't even blink. You just went and got a crew.
Yeah, that's true.
You went and got a crew so fast. You hit me like 3 days later, like, oh yeah, I got a crew. I shot this. I said, you did that in 3 days? And I said, 2 weeks ago, you wasn't even directed, right?
That's a fact. Got a camera and everything.
Like, it was like you already, you know, you meant for it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like people need other people to know that. You know what I'm saying? It's like even me, like. I remember it's like a lot of times where y'all would just come to my shows. Y'all done see me perform 100 times. Y'all don't come to these shows no more. Like, come on, you know the whole set. Come on, bro. Like, you know when I'm doing the spin move. You know when my jacket's coming off.
Hair's coming out.
Right, you know when the hair tie coming out.
The hair tie's coming out. That's real.
Y'all can every show.
Because we cared.
Right.
We wanted to show that we care about your craft. We care about you. And plus, every show would be very, like, it's just magical. Like, this is your gift. So it's like, we may get this show. You may get this type of show. You might get this. Like, I think that's the gift of having a gift that's so viewable and so like ready to be taken in. It's like, oh man, he usually hits the note like this, but this time he hit the spin move and hit the note like that. Like just the small changes. Yeah, no, you've been doing the spin move too. So I was like, just all of that, I think goes into why you see the same artists over and over again outside of loving it and appreciating them. But like, I knew every show would be different because there's some shows where it's just you on the stage and a guitar. And there's some shows where it's the full-on band. There's some shows it's at Afropunk and it's mad. Like, this is just like, through all those different scenarios, you've been able to be yourself and like add to the palette. So for me, I could watch that over and over and over because it's like, it's about the small things you add to it, the small changes to the songs or to what kind of vocal notes you want to hit in that. Like, for me, that was the exciting part, you know?
Yeah.
So I actually really just enjoyed going to the show.
All right, lit. I thought you felt obligated. No. So I'm glad I know the truth now. I
like Jesse was like, yo, everybody got to come to the show.
You know, like, right? You know me,
like, everybody got to get a show, bro.
Y'all coming to the show, right? You know me. Like,
I actually really
I'm like, it's
enjoy the
important.
shows,
All right,
and I'm
good.
looking forward to the next ones.
All right,
We
cool.
gonna be there.
So okay, cool. That's nice. I like that. Yeah, I'm showing up to whatever you do too. You know that already. Even when you don't want me to be there, I'll be like, where you at?
I know.
Like Jesse coming up on set. Oh God.
Oh
Be
my
back
God.
Like, you need something?
I know. That's a
Hey,
fact.
hey, Josh, tell him to fix his shirt.
I know, right? Like, yo, I saw what happened over here. No, you gotta have the friends that understand what you're trying to do and put it to practice. That's a fact.
Facts.
No, it's real.
Facts. I like this.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, this is very good. It's a good talk. I learned a lot really
Me too.
fast.
Yeah, same.
I appreciate you.
There's some memories that you had me think about that I haven't even thought about in like 10 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So.
Shout out to Shorty from sophomore year.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Ashley.
Hey,
Peace.
look at us now. Thank you very much, guys.
I hope she's doing well. Yeah. No, not on the, not on the like Michael B. I'm not even trying to do that. Like,
come on, brother.
No, but that whole situation. It's not even like that. It was just a growth period that she wasn't able to recognize, and it helped propel me to be deeper into my craft.
Yeah, 10 toes down.
I could only double down on what I want to do. So.
I'm with you. We need those. We need all the moments of motivation.
Yeah,
all of them.
Momentum shifters.
Facts.
Like people in your life to be like, either you can do that or you can't do that, but either way you're gonna shift me to go forward. So
that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I think
that's it. New growth.
Do you have what he said?
New growth.
Do you have any words of wisdom for?
Wow.
I feel like you just said like a lot.
I said
amazing things.
Words of wisdom. I know that's the tough part. We just said a lot, but this.
Okay, I got another question
Yeah,
before we close out. All right, you on an island, and you got one song to play for the rest of your life.
Oh
What song you picking?
One song to play for the rest of my life on an island.
Facts.
Wow.
Okay, every time you go on a jog, what song you play?
I play Rich Spirit now. Kendrick.
Fire.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah, right? I'm like, the whole world becomes dark. I'm just like, because it's like, I could do something physically, but like my spirit self, like my creative self, like that needs to be on a certain level. And I just love that song for that. It's just keeping the spirit rich, keeping your creativity fresh. So shout out to Kendrick for that.
Facts.
Yeah, facts. Squad.
Bye, guys. That was wonderful.
That was great.
Oh, fuck.